Okay, so our debate's on whether or not, like, if Nazi was the only person, the party was only responsible for the Holocaust. And before we start the debate, I think it's important to define some of the key terms. So the Nazi was the political party that was anti-communist and led by a lot of prominent leaders, and especially Hitler. And Holocaust was the mass murder of the Jewish, homosexual, and mentally disabled and gypsies. I'm going to be on the pro side, and you're going to be on the con side. One of my main arguments is that Nazis, they encouraged a lot of killings, and not only did they force their own army to kill Jewish people, they encouraged German citizens who didn't have any affiliation with Nazi parties to carry on with the executions. So even if the Nazis didn't directly, even if other people killed Jewish people, because of the influence that the Nazis had on other people, it's kind of clear that they were responsible.
But even if they did have the influence, and even if the root was arrested with the Nazis, is it not like other countries' responsibilities that they had people that also partook in the killing of the Jews?
I think it's important to note that a country must take into consideration their own benefits and the sacrifices they have to make if they're trying to stop a party. Because say a world power like U.S., yeah, they have a lot of power, but what in the long run would they gain from helping the Jewish people?
But what would they get in the long run from killing off all the Jews for the Germans?
Not only are they keeping themselves away from conflict, although it shows that they're accepting the killing of the Jews, it doesn't mean that they're responsible for it, because they didn't encourage their own people to kill them, and they were trying to take in their own benefits. Like, they were taking into consideration what was good for them.
But for example, take Belgium. They went above and beyond what the Nazis asked them to do. They themselves exterminated Jewish people. And are you saying that they're not responsible at all for it, even though they killed a fraction of the Jews themselves that were held victim in the Holocaust?
I think based on your point, you're saying that it's also the fault of the other countries because they partook in the killing of Jews. But Nazi Party is what lit the fire of anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism was fervent all over Europe, but I think it's important to note that the Nazi Party really encouraged it and really asked other countries to do it. And if it weren't for the Nazi parties asking Belgium or asking other countries or militaries to kill Jews, the Holocaust may not have happened.
I understand that it started where the Nazis were, but technically, is it not given? So are none of the other countries given responsibility for that? It's like saying, what if a bully asks 5 different students to cheat for him? Is it not the students' fault? The students also get in trouble. They also get punished for it. And so, therefore, it is also the responsibility of the students that were held vulnerable to the bullying.
That is correct, but if you look at it, say you're giving a situation where a bully asks 5 people to help him cheat on a test. What if it was the bully says, "Help me cheat on this test, or I'm going to bomb your house"?
Okay, can you give me an example of where that happened?
Well, it was pretty clear in historical evidence that some of the countries, they were aware of what was happening, but not all of them knew the extent of the mass murder. So yeah, Belgium and other countries that partook in the killing of Jews, they can be held responsible. But as I said before, it was the Nazi Party that encouraged them to do it, which makes them responsible for the Holocaust.
Well, why don't you think countries such as U.S., Canada, and Britain, why wouldn't they have let in more Jews, like at the beginning?
As I said before, because they're trying to, they want to protect their own people, because they need to take care of their own country before they try to get into the political issues of other countries.
How would that have affected America? Being one of the biggest superpowers of the world, they had enough money to help support, and the only reason that they apparently they were given an eyewitness account of the whole ordeal, but they chose not to help out because they thought that if they bribed the Germans, then they would have been using too much gold and too much silver, and then that would have become bad publicity for them. But is that an excuse to let millions of Jews be killed in Germany?
Let me reason with the first statement you said. You said that the problem that U.S. had was that they weren't letting in enough Jewish immigrants.
Yeah.
But if you look into the details, they were illegal Jewish immigrants, and that already is unconstitutional for U.S. And that means that if they're an illegal immigrant, they're not supposed to be allowing them in. And second of all, you're asking, you're on the reason that U.S. didn't want to spend money, but as I said before, they're not going to gain benefits from helping Jewish people. They're only going to cause political tension between two nations, and that would put their people in danger as well.
First of all, the thing I was talking about was that America made it very hard, even like compared to other races and other countries' peoples. It made it very hard for the Jewish to obtain entry visas into the United States. Do you have a reason for that? And if so, then isn't it the fault of the United States for not trying to help out, even when they did know that the Jewish were undergoing such treatment like at the other side of the world? And also, what was your second point again?
I was saying that it's not in the U.S.'s best interest to get into the political issues of.
But then, like the United States, even when it was first made, it's a country for many different people. It's like an international country. But then, why would they like block them out just because of that reason?
I'm gonna keep reinstating the point that they were Jewish illegal immigrants because maybe they made it hard for them to gain the visas, but it's because they don't want to get political tension between two countries, because now the people in their country is in danger.
You mean illegal immigrants to Germany?
Illegal immigrants to America.
But my point is why they didn't let legal immigrants in.
They're not letting. It's not that they wouldn't let legal immigrants in. They made it difficult for them to obtain the visas, and that's, as I said before, because they don't want to get into the political issues of the Nazi Party. Like, they are a superpower, and they were responsible for the ending of world wars. But we can't hold them responsible for every conflict that happens. Like, even today, we're not going to hold U.S. Responsible for the problems that are happening in North Korea. That's the same thing. That's almost the same situation.
But being a superpower, they would have had the authority to do it. I'll just move on to my next point. Because France and England had appeased them from the very beginning, wouldn't that have stopped Hitler from gaining so much power and taking over? For example, because France and England appeased Germany, that's the reason why they could gain resources and territory when they were at such a weak state, even because of the Treaty of Versailles. And if they didn't, then Hitler's regime may have toppled, but they did. So it was like a domino effect. Because they helped Hitler gain such power at the beginning, then that's why Hitler grew so powerful at the end.
Your argument is on the basis that the Nazi Party is only made up of Hitler, which it isn't. The Nazi is a political party that is formed by anyone who is anti-communist, for whoever is in the regime, and who are anti-Semitists. But yeah, your argument is on the basis that the Nazi Party is only made of Hitler. And if Hitler didn't get any power, then the Holocaust wouldn't have happened. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but technically, was Hitler not a major player of the entire thing?
I'm saying that he was, but you can't hold him accountable for a mass killing of that many people. You can't hold one person, Hitler, or the gaining of his power, as the reason for all the deaths of all the
Technically, this point also applies to every other thing of Germany. So, if France and England hadn't appeased Germany, then Germany wouldn't have become so strong.
Then you're going on the basis that every other country that appeases countries have to look out for any mass murder that might happen.
I'm saying that they should have learned, they should have seen what Germany was capable of from World War I, especially after they had caused so much damage in World War I and had accepted responsibility for all of that. So they should have been a little more careful, especially when France is warning everyone about it.
Because there were problems within France who had like who wanted personal vengeance against Germany. It's hard to try to get other countries to agree with France when they're only talking about their safety. Like I'm gonna keep reinstating the point that these other nations, if they did help out, they're not gonna gain as much political power. They're just gonna make all the countries more tense within each other.
Why, if that's the case, why didn't they just remain neutral? Why did they have to go out of their way to help Germany?
In other historical cases, we can see that trying to stay neutral is really difficult, especially in like U.S. when they have like all these acts that help them stay neutral, but at the end they'll stay into conflict with one country. And because Germany is much more powerful, they need to make sure that they're thinking about the best interests of the people. I'm also gonna mention that there were these Nuremberg trials that convicted all the Nazi leaders for their crimes against humanity. So like it's clear that in court, like, that all these leaders were held accountable and they did accept the charges. Those who didn't, commit suicide were accepting the responsibility of Holocaust. So they themselves are saying that they were responsible for Holocaust.
But are they the only ones? As I said before, I admit I know that the Germans had held some responsibility for the Holocaust. But what I'm saying is that they're not the only ones. Other nations such as France, England, the U.S., I feel that the other countries also partook in the responsibility.
I will also mention this point that they're partaking in the Holocaust is actually because of the encouraging from the Nazi Party. So that influence is actually from the Nazi Party, which makes them responsible.
But were all the nations that were encouraged by the Nazi Party, did all of them follow the rules? Did they all have a puppet Nazi government? If other countries were able were able to deny it and were able to avoid Nazism, then why couldn't the countries that did?
Because of Hitler's regime was so large, they can't just ignore something like that's happening. They have to either partake to help the Jewish people or help Nazis. It shows in their actions they weren't helping Jewish people, and that's because they need to make sure that their people are safe and they don't get the same thing doesn't happen in their country.
But nowadays too, countries do accept the responsibility, like countries other than Germany. For example, France, 2 years ago, the government of France, they gave out money to the Jewish because they accepted responsibility, and it was kind of sorry for doing that, here's some repay for that. Then why would they have wasted their money on that if they hadn't been responsible for it in the first place?
So you're saying that their paying of money is directly related to them having responsibility for the Holocaust?
That was the reason for them paying the money, because they were apologizing for deporting Jews to German death camps.
You can see that with Turkey, they didn't accept the mass killing of Armenians, and you can see that they're having a really hard time trying to get accepted into the European Union. And with France's giving money to the Jews, it shows that they're trying to maybe they're trying to take responsibility, but you have to look at it on the other side that maybe France is trying to make their image a little bit better, because we can see with Turkey, if you don't say sorry, even if you didn't do it, you're gonna have a hard time, politically. So France's intentions may not have been, maybe their intention wasn't trying to say sorry to someone.
But honestly, did the France it's not like they didn't do it though.
I'm not saying that they didn't do it. I'm saying that it was because of the encouraging from the Nazi Party. My main argument is that the Nazi Party, it was all the influences were from the Nazi Party. Even though anti-Semitism was around Europe, it was because of the Nazi Party that other countries felt convicted to start killing Jewish people. So it's the Nazis' responsibility for the Holocaust.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand what you mean by the Nazis influencing the other countries, but isn't it the responsibility of the countries that they were actually influenced?
Stop, please.